Better Black America TV on YouTube. I'm your host, Bushan Glover, and we're going to get into it today. We're live. We're streaming live. Happy Labor Day to you. Happy Labor Day. September 1st, 2025. It's the fourth quarter. And we up 20. We just got to win the game. And I believe we're going to put the scrubs in and we're going to probably win by 60. So listen. We got to get into it today. The feds to DC, crime is down, confirmed by the governor. Confirmed by the mayor, Bowser. She praised Donald Trump. She read the statistics. I will give you that, as well as Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago. The mayor of Chicago signed an executive order to stop Trump's federal troops, or the ICE rage in Illinois. More importantly, the Chicago area. And that was on Friday. But then over the weekend, 53 people were shot. So we got to talk about it and understand what's really going on, because it's not about the migrant. It's about the people. It's not about the migrant. It's about the people. And we're going to be honest with ourselves. So Mayor Bowser, the DC mayor, basically went on record because the statistics has come out since the deployment of the federal troops in Chicago. Okay. And we're going to just keep it real. And I'm going to read the timetable for you, because let me see here. Violent crimes is down in Washington, D.C. since Trump put in the federal troops. Violent crimes are down 50%. Homicides are down 32%. Robberies are down 46% this week alone. Carjackings are down an astonishing, are you ready for this? Between 82 and 83% when it comes to carjackings in the DC metropolitan area. Property crimes overall is down 14%. Arrest, 24% federal reported 550 to 1,100 arrests. This is what they're reporting in DC. Between 550, and this over the weekend, so they got to compile this evidence. So basically 550 to 1,000. So I'm going to say basically 1,100 arrested, okay? Because they basically just, gave us some ballpark figures. Gun seizures on the federal level. 115 firearms. 115 firearms in DC have been seized by the federal troops. So when you talk about the federal troops does not work, think about that. Obviously it's working. And the bottom line, multiple categories, especially in violent crimes, carjackings, robberies, burglaries, and car thefts has seen a notable reduction since the National Guard has been deployed to the DC metropolitan area mid-August. It is what it is. So listen, man, give a hand clap to Mayor Bowser for basically, understanding, the program. And it's not a pissing contest. Now, if these things are down in DC, this is showing us that the federal troops are working, because when they came to LA, the protesters got shut down, and Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, said it herself. She said that this is a litmus test for the rest of the country. And we got to really figure these things out, because if crime is down, since the federal troops have come into the DC metropolitan area, and violent crime is down 50%. Half of the crime is gone. Homicides, 32%. Carjackings down 83%. Car thefts down 36%. Property crime overall down 14%. Okay, and then when they say arrest, they gave us a ballpark figure, but I'm going to go with the highest. It says I'm gonna just be honest with you. It says between 550 people to 1,100. So I don't know where they get the 1,100 from. So I'm gonna go ahead and say 1,100 have been arrested, okay, for these crimes. Gun seizures, 115 seized firearms over the last 2 weeks. 115. That's crazy. And basically, what Mayor Bowser said at the press conference, Mayor, let me see here. Somebody put in the chat, there's a lot more. So, I'm going to have to take a deep dive. So put the link in the chat because we're going to stay on this. Because if DC could get cleaned up, that means the rest of the country can get cleaned up. And we need to be honest with ourselves because the bottom line, this is basically, yes, multiple crime categories, especially violent crimes, carjackings, robberies, burglaries, and car thefts have seen notable reductions since the National Guard has been deployed to the DC metropolitan area. So why are we not getting this information? Why we continue to be hoodwinked and bamboozled and look at all these other situations that's going on in the world? Because on Friday, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, signed an executive order to basically stop Trump. And I got to say to the mayor, Brandon Johnson, and the governor of Illinois, Governor Fitzer, okay, what about the people? Okay, you guys are in this pissing contest with the president of the United States of America, who won the electoral college, who won the popular vote. Literally half the country supported the president. So why are you guys doing what you're doing? You should be working with the president, because if he could clean up DC, he could clean up LA, he could clean up Memphis, he could clean up other cities. And I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna move on, because we're talking about feds to DC crime down. Okay, Brandon Johnson signed an executive order on Friday, but over the weekend, 53 people were shot. Okay, so right now, let me see here. I'm gonna read them off one more time, and then I'm gonna move on with the topic of discussion, because violent crime is down 50% in DC. Homicides is down 32% in DC. Robbery is down in 1 week, 46%. And somebody put in the chat that the stats are higher in the Pew polls. Burglaries are down 48%. Carjackings are down 83%. 1,100 people have been arrested overall. And in the last 2 weeks, there have been 115 gun seizures, meaning that's 115 firearms off the block. That's 115 firearms off the streets that could actually save lives. Okay? Because bad people with guns kill people. It's like I said, I believe in the First Amendment, so it is the Second Amendment, but we got to figure this stuff out. So listen, let me see here. So now, Brandon Johnson, here, bear with me. I'm live right now. Let me figure this thing out. Boom. Okay, let me pause that. Okay, and then let me see here. Where we going? Let me see here. Where are we going? Here we go. Let me see. The mayor had a press conference. Think about that. The mayor had a press conference on Friday. Okay, we just saw the statistics are down. We saw that clear as day. And now the Chicago mayor signs an executive order to counter. Okay, it's symbolic, to counter the president's crackdown on illegal immigration. But this is much bigger than illegal aliens or migrants. This is much bigger than illegal aliens or migrants. But check this out. I'm gonna let you hear part of the press conference, and then I'm gonna, like when you watch those reels, and then they say a few moments later. Here, check this out. Let's go. This is the press conference over the weekend with Mr. Brandon Johnson. Signed an executive order to stop the president.
This afternoon, let me start by saying this. I do not take this executive action lightly. I would have preferred to work in a more collaborative approach. I would have preferred to do the work.
Hold up. You see how he's reading that statement? Okay, bear with me. I got to give some commentary. I got to stop it and chop it because I don't want to get flagged. But you see how nervous he is because he just got the talking points from his handlers. He just got the talking point. He has no power. So whoever the opposition of the United States of America, whoever could care less about the people, funds this man's campaign, and they got their hand up his back because he is basically doing what he's been told to do, because he's looking out for his personal career. He's looking out for his family. He's not looking out for the people. Because why would anybody go on record as an elected official and go against the federal government? But we're going to get into that. Hit that like, hit that notification, because we're going to talk about this, because state versus the federal government, the states have, the federal government is undefeated. So basically, you should just work with the president. But let's go. Here we go. Let's go.
With our allies in city council to pass legislation ultimately.
Look at how nervous he is.
And we were doing that.
Look how nervous he is.
But some of the leaders who we are working with are standing behind me today.
Some of them.
But unfortunately, we do not have the luxury.
But that's crazy. A mayor cannot speak freely because he's a hired gun. Okay, and this is crazy. These are the individuals whose souls are sold to a political party that has no love for the people because their careers are more important than the people.
Of time. We have received credible reports that we have days, not weeks, before our city sees some type of militarized activity by the federal government.
And it needs to.
It is unclear at this time what that will look like exactly. We may see militarized immigration enforcement. We may also see.
I'm going to say this again. It's not about just the immigration. It's about crime in general. Okay. It's not just about immigration. It's about crime in general, because a lot of those illegal immigrants commit crimes, the cartels, the, human traffickers, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just about that. You know what I'm saying? But somehow these politicians have a way to just frame things in a certain way to basically make it seem as though it's like a bait and switch or some type of magic trick. But this guy right here, soul is soul, and he can't even say what they told him to say. He's nervous. I know the body language. Look at this guy.
National Guard troops. We may even see active duty military and armed vehicles in our streets.
People are dying.
Not called for this.
Mount sales objections with this.
Sorry about that. Let me see here. Let me pause that. Here we go.
Not asked.
There we go.
This. But nevertheless, we find ourselves having to respond to this.
They let it get out of control.
Let me be absolutely clear.
Be clear.
Although we believe the reports we have received are highly credible.
Who is we?
This is an erratic, impulsive administration, and
you see how he's reading? Who wrote the script? That's what I want to know. Who wrote the script? Let's go.
It's not always possible to understand and know exactly how he will move. He could change his mind. He could reverse course. In fact,
listen, it's not flesh and blood, people. This not flesh and blood. Why is he making an issue between him and Trump? Because he don't want Trump to get the credit of cleaning up the city of Chicago, because somehow, some way, he has allowed the city to pretty much plummet. Okay, but we have to get in front of this because we don't want Trump to get the credit for it. He gonna get the credit for it. You know how Trump is. He's egotistical. He gonna get the credit for it, just like he's getting the credit for stopping the crime in D.C.
encourage him to do that.
They just some haters.
We take these threats seriously, and we find ourselves in a position where we must take immediate, drastic action to protect our people from.
Why is he reading? Who wrote that?
I'm signing an executive order today that will launch the Protecting Chicago Initiative.
Hold on. He's signing an executive order. He's calling it to the Protection of Chicago Initiative. Why? Chicago's not protected. They out of control. These young YNs are shooting and killing people, and I'm seeing people in the chat talking about, thank God DC is quiet right now, that people can, they're not getting carjacked. They can walk the streets, because somehow these things have gotten out of control. But the media, in cahoots with these liberal mayors and governors, somehow, some way spin the narrative and act like it's not really happening.
This is a project that builds on the months of preparation that we have done, that has led up to.
Hold up. Why he sounds so nervous? Am I the only one? Why does he sound so nervous? Because he knows he sold his soul, and he's lying through his teeth, and he's doing what he's told to do. And if he don't do what he's told to do, he gonna be in big trouble with the people that we don't see.
To this very moment. Protecting Chicago will ensure that every Chicago.
Hold on. He's signing an executive order right now to protect Chicago. What about, for the last 20, 30 years, the last 10 years, the last 6 months, you haven't been protecting Chicago, bro?
Everyone knows their rights, that every single family is prepared, and every part of city government is directed to protect the people of Chicago from federal action.
So he's protecting the people of Chicago from federal action. What about protecting the people of Chicago from violent criminals, robberies, killers, murderers, jackers? He is signing an executive order to protect the city of Chicago from the federal government. The federal government is not going to hurt anybody in Chicago. They're going to help. Okay, I just read off the statistics in DC because, you know, the federal troops, just the presence of the federal troops, get these bad actors, you know, they keep them in the house. It makes them nervous. Okay. And this guy right here, you know, we signed an executive order to protect the people of Chicago from the federal government. Wait a minute. Last time that I checked, the federal government is the executive branch of government, and that's over any city, state.
This sweeping executive order directs our Department of Law to pursue any and every legal mechanism to hold this administration accountable for violating the right.
He want to hold the Trump administration accountable, but Trump is holding the city of Chicago accountable. And like I said, this is one of those things where they get out in front of it and basically do a press conference just to give talking points. But at the end of the day, this guy, he's done. He's the reason. OK, but he don't want to say that because he wants to flip the script and make it seem like, you know, we're going to protect Chicago from the federal government. No. The federal government has to come in and protect the people from you.
Rights of Chicagoans.
Come on.
This order affirms that the Chicago Police Department will not collaborate with military personnel on police patrols or civil immigration enforcement.
Wow. He protecting those migrants. This was why Black America has departed itself from the Democratic Party, because they care more about illegal immigrants and migrants than their own people. Think about that.
We will not have our police officers who are working hard every single day
I would like to hear.
to drive down crime, deputized to
Look. See, he ain't even proofread it. He ain't even proofread it. He ain't even proofread it. So, I mean, come on, bro.
do traffic stops and checkpoints for the president. This order affirms the CPD officers
This is sad.
be directed to
So this is what you call a Sambo coon or a sellout. Okay, stop with the comments calling me those names. You can call me an Uncle Tom all day, but this is a sellout. This brother have sold his soul just for a little piece of power. He sold his soul.
wear CPD uniforms and refrain from wearing masks so that residents can clearly distinguish them from federal agents. And finally, as I said, it establishes the Protecting Chicago Initiative,
Look, he sounds so nervous.
the most sweeping campaign of any city in the country to protect ourselves from the threats and actions of this out-of-control administration.
So the administration is out of control. Come on, man. Okay, so this is crazy. The administration is out of control because they want to protect the people. Okay, the Constitution says we the people. If they didn't want us to be involved, they'd have left we out of it. But we have to be protected from the states like this guy because he's a mayor, he's a local official, and this is the same thing that happened during slavery. It was the Democratic Party that fought against the federal government, and he's a Democrat because they wanted to protect slavery, which was their good economic, and the chickens are coming home to roost, and it sounds like that's what he's talking about right now.
We will protect our Constitution, we will protect our city,
Uh-huh.
and we will protect our people.
Yeah, okay.
We do not want to see tanks in our streets.
He don't want to see tanks in the street, but he don't mind brothers getting shot every day. He don't want to see tanks in the street. Okay. Okay. Malcolm X said by any means necessary. So to me, by any means necessary. So if you put the tanks out there as a, you know, just to put a presence out there, I guarantee you that will stop, you know, some things from happening.
We do not want to see families ripped apart.
Regular screwdrivers keep stripping screws.
All right.
Still,
Let me see here. Bam. There we go.
do not
Sorry
want
about that.
grandmothers thrown into the back of unmarked vans.
What is he talking about, bro?
We don't want to see homeless Chicagoans harassed or disappeared by federal agents.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to see Chicagoans arrested for sitting on their porch.
That's not
It's
going to happen.
Who we are as a city.
Okay.
And that's not who we are as a nation. My team and I have spoken with the governor, the county president.
This was Friday.
And with our federal delegation, and we are in complete alignment. The time for action is now.
Okay.
With that, I will sign this executive order and then return for follow-up questions.
Yeah, okay. He read that, man. He was so nervous. So listen, he about to sign executive order. Okay. And then, you know, when you go on those reels and the thing goes a few moments later. Okay. That was Friday, right? This is a press conference today. This is a press conference today with the governor, Governor Pitzer. You heard what he just said, right? Okay. Check this out. You ready for this headline? You ready? All right. Check this out. 53 shot over the weekend in Chicago as governor rejects Trump's threat to send in National Guard. 53 individuals have been shot and 7 was fatally killed over in Chicago over the weekend. And these drive-by attacks, 7 victims wounded. Let me see here. 7 people died over the weekend. You got Brandon Johnson talking about he's going to sign executive order to stop the federal government, you know, from sending in federal troops to basically protect the city of Chicago. He said that on Friday, signed an executive order, but 53 people, 7 dead over the weekend. So what are we doing? What are we doing? That's crazy. And then the governor does a press conference today, and I'm curious to what he said. So I'm going to go ahead and let's check it out. Let's check it out. Let's see what the governor said today.
The media about the potential of the National Guard coming to his city. Let's take a listen.
Heed, both here in Illinois and across the country. Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump had...
Hold on. He didn't mention over the weekend 53 people were shot. He basically said, we learned over the weekend that Donald Trump, I mean, come on, man. This is not a pissing contest between the presidents and the governor and the mayor. What about the people? Think about this. The Constitution says we the people. What about the people? And this is why black men have abandoned the Democratic Party and has aligned itself as nonpartisan independents, because there needs to be a moderator between the state, okay, and the federal government, okay? Because we know whatever side that we play on or whatever side we jump on, we're going to help them win. Just like the newly freed slave back in the Civil War times, they aligned themselves and joined the Union Army to defeat the Democratic Dixiecratic South in the Civil War. So this is a civil war, but this time they don't have the Negro. This time, you know, they're on their own, because this sounds so crazy. 53 people shot over the weekend, and I'm waiting for him to say, I haven't seen this. I'm waiting for. Over the weekend, 53 people were shot, but what did he say? Over the weekend, we found out that Donald Trump is going to. Yeah, we need that.
Personnel to the streets of Chicago.
Yes, please.
This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders...
So listen, chat. I see y'all lighting the chat up. I'm fixing it. I got a very sensitive microphone. So, chat, do you think it's reasonable for the federal government to send in the troops to stop the killings, especially when crime is out of control? And in DC, crime has plummeted since the deployment of the National Guard. And over the weekend, 53 people were shot and 7 killed. So if you were in charge, would you send in the federal troops? I mean, let's have, you know how they say, make it make sense. Let's have some common sense. Okay. Let's have some common sense.
Warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances.
Wow.
What President Trump is doing is unprecedented.
What President Trump is doing, he's doing his job as a president of the United States of America. It's not flesh and blood. I don't care who's in there. Just stop the bleeding. 53 people shot, 7 killed over the weekend, and he has a press conference talking about Donald Trump. Wow.
And unwarranted.
What you mean unwarranted? 53 people shot over the weekend but believe me, that's warranted.
It is illegal.
It's
It
illegal.
is unconstitutional.
Okay, so it's starting to seem like the Democrats, the people to die. 54 shot, 7 dead. Thank you for that. It seems like the Democrats want people to die. It seems like the Democrats could care less about the people. They're just collateral damage. They want the killings to continue. And believe me, the people see this. We have common sense. We are not going to continue to support the party that wants people to continue to die and refuse to work with the federal government to stop the killing.
It is un-American. No one from the White House or the executive branch has reached out to me or to the mayor. No one has reached out to our staffs. No effort has been made to coordinate or to ask for our assistance in identifying any actions.
If you were the president of the United States for the Trump administration, would you work with them? You know, without a shadow of a doubt, they don't want to work with you. So why would you even work with them? You're the executive branch. Okay, you have the right to do whatever. They're supposed to go up and meet with the president. That's what they need to do. But for whatever reason, they want to take a stance and not even mention the 53 people that have been shot and the 7 dead over the weekend.
That might be helpful to us. Local law enforcement has not been contacted.
Local law enforcement is under siege, by the bad actors. Local law enforcement can't do their jobs. Come on, make it make sense, because local law enforcement work directly under the mayor. And I guarantee you they was told to stand down.
We've made no requests for federal intervention. None.
Okay, he said we made no request for federal intervention. Okay, well, because you don't have any common sense, because if you got 53 people shot, 7 people dead, then you have lost control of your city. And whatever comes with that, it is what it is. And I guarantee you the people will not forget, and the people will remember how you guys are acting, how you guys are allowing human beings to be slaughtered just because you got an issue with President Trump. And the midterms is going to show that, and the general election in 2028 is going to show that.
We found out what Donald Trump was planning.
Listen, we found out what Donald Trump is planning. He's having a press conference. This is today, September 1st. And he's not even mentioning or having a moment of silence for the 7 people dead and the 53 shot. This is crazy.
The same way that all of you did. We read a story in the Washington Post.
That's crazy.
If this was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe.
Hold on. He reading too. He was like, wait a minute. What? He proofread that. He didn't want that to flow. He wanted to see what it said first.
What possible justification could the White House have?
The justification is, under my watch as the president of the United States, the city of Chicago is out of control. Over the weekend, I've been threatening to send in the National Guard. We had to do it in D.C. It's working. Okay, and now over the weekend, 53 people were shot. 7 people killed. So this is the justification why we're going to deploy troops to the city of Chicago to stop the bleeding and, more importantly, stop the human beings being killed and murdered under the Democratic leadership.
For planning such an exceptional action without any conversations or consultations with the governor, the mayor, or the police.
They know where you stand, bruh.
Let me answer that question. This is not about fighting crime. This is
Wait. He said it's not about fighting crime.
about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city,
Come on, guys.
in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals.
Well, okay.
This is about
Well, his political rivals are the individuals that fund their campaigns, that's more than likely funding these operations on the other end, which this fool don't realize that people understand that. The president of the United States is privy to intelligence and information that's not public. It's what they call need to know. And what he is saying, he's looking so stupid. He's looking so stupid. He's looking asinine. He basically really don't understand. Okay. And I'm sitting back really trying to understand, like, why are these individuals so, hell bent on Donald Trump when they should be working together? The president don't have to call you. You check in with the president. He's the president, and people are dying. That's the part. 53 shot over the weekend, 7 people dead in Chicago, and he's having a press conference saying that it's about Donald Trump. No, it's about the people. It's about public safety. It's about one nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all. And 7 people have not got any justice. They're dead. And then hopefully the 53 that was shot, everybody, heals properly and they don't lose their lives.
The President of the United States and his complaint, Stephen Miller, searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy, militarize our cities, and end elections. There is no emergency in Chicago. Armed military intervention.
The feds is
There
on my line.
Insurrection. There is no insurrection. Like every major American city in both blue and red states, we deal with crime in Chicago. Indeed, the violent crime rate is worse in red cities.
Okay, that's a lie. Okay. He said the crime is worse in red states and red cities. And the individuals that's on right now, and if you hear any feedback, that's because the federal government, the individuals, they're on the line. Okay, I can hear me double talking in my ear, but I'm gonna continue with this live. Okay, he said that the red states have more crime. Okay, these red states that he's talking about, the cities in these red states, okay, like Illinois, okay, are ran by Democrats. The top 20 worst cities when it comes to crime, 18 out of 20 is Democratic. 18 out of 10 is Democratic. And that's real. That is so real. And 2 out of the 20, Stockton, California, which just flipped to red, and the state of Nevada is independent. So all of the worst cities in America are ran by the Democrats. And they basically assume that we're not smart. They assume that we are ignorant and they could just say anything. We're just going to believe what they tell us. I mean, this does not make sense. You have 53 people shot and 7 people died. And the governor and the mayor is having a piss contest with the president of the United States, who wants this to stop. Meaning, if you're not going to do your job, I'll do it for you. Okay, that's all it is. It's not an ego thing. It's an American thing. It's a humanitarian thing. So when these individuals go out there, they get these talking points from these bad agitators, these bad actors, these evildoers in high places. They give them their speaking points. They give them their speech. They go out there and read it. But we got to understand, how can we be a nation, that's good for everyone if we have to have, oppositions fighting against one another, every time, we turn the news on or every time something happens. This is not right. We are American citizens. So this is why we, the people, need to stand up, not associate ourselves with either side. Like I said, if you're a MAGA, congratulations, be a MAGA. But like I said, I'm a former frustrated Democrat that basically sees the what's going on, and I'm not going to stand for it. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Harris. I didn't even vote for Biden. I wrote my own name in, but in this past election, I wrote in Jesus Christ. So because I don't want to be associated with that party. Because when they sit back and say, oh, the party switched and all of that, is a bald-faced lie. The Democratic Party has no foundation to stand on. The Democratic Party is built on sand and sticks. It has no foundation because they basically, for their survival, they'll do anything. Just like in the Civil War, they fought against slavery. And it's crazy that you have a Democratic governor, Democratic mayor going against the federal government when the party of slavery, which the chickens are coming home to roost, it basically separated from the United States of America, separated from the Union because they wanted to preserve slavery. So does he want to preserve, does he want to preserve crime? Okay. And I'm just showing you right now, the feds is on, okay? And they're listening and they're in our feed, okay? But it's all good. I'm gonna keep on going. But what I'm saying is there's no way we could continue to support this two-party system, what we call this duopoly. I'm sitting here listening to a governor in which a city in his state just had over the weekend 53 people shot. Not a mass shooting, not one mass shooting. 53 people shot, 7 people dead just in the Chicago area alone. Wasn't even a mass shooting. This is the crime that's going on. And then he has an issue with the president of the United States because the president, wants to do something about it. And this is crazy. And this is crazy. So when you look at the state versus the federal government, this is what you call, a civil war that they trying to have. But when you look at the Democratic Party, they don't have the civil rights movement anymore. They don't have the support of the black clergy and the black churches anymore. They don't have the support of black leadership. The Democratic Party is predicated on, number one is abortion. Number two is the LGBTQ and number three is the migrants, clearly. Because, Gavin Newsom, like I said, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to stay on topic. But what I'm saying is we are watching the demise, the destruction, and the last days of the Democratic Party, because how is it that we as American people have to sit back and listen to these elected officials basically prove that they could care less about the people? And it's about their ego, and it's about the individuals that basically, funds their campaign. It's crazy. And somebody put in the comments, equality, is gross, but the equality that they talking about, yes, it is, but we got to figure out equality for all. We're going to figure it out, because one thing we got to do, we got to let this party just, continue to slide down this slippery slope, continue to do what it do, because it looks bad for the governor and for the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois to go on record and not even show no respect for life and still continue to want to be the opposition of the president. And I'm saying this because they have to be the opposition, because the individuals that funds their campaign, because the DNC can't raise money, the individuals that funds their campaign, the individuals that put them in office, the individuals that will continue to support them, are the oppositions of America. They're anti-American.
Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime.
He said they work every day to combat crime, but clearly they're not doing a good enough job. 53 shot, 7 dead. Come on now.
And to improve public safety.
You're right.
And it's working.
Did he say it's working? That fool is lying.
Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago.
You ain't solved nothing.
Nor can that be said of any major American metro area.
Wow.
But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people.
It won't disrupt the lives. It will make lives better. I see video after video of individuals in the city in D.C., walking the streets and happy that crime is down, happy that carjackings are down, happy that the homicides are down, and they can actually walk the streets. It's quiet. Okay, so for an individual to do what he do, it's crazy.
Is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this.
Listen, this guy right here, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, and then he's a governor, okay? And then, individuals like this, they basically motivate and agitate and get people to basically, just go out and do bad things, okay?
Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city.
Okay.
Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students.
See, he don't care nothing about the hood, okay? He talking about people are living their lives, but what about the 53 shot over the weekend? Oh, that was in a hood. Those are people of color. It is what it is. And this is basically saying that, something has to be done, and it's showing us that they don't care. Somebody put in the comment, this is a hate crime. Nah, this is not hate crimes. These are crimes, that's just out of control. These are bad actors. This is why they're not saying it's a hate crime, because the 53 shot is basically just the climate of certain particular parts of Chicago. He's right. Just like here in LA, you had, protests and stuff going on, but we wasn't affected. We didn't feel it. But we still have some stuff going on. Just like out here, there was some shootings over the weekend last week, and people in the city of Los Angeles, we are requesting that the National Guard come in, and basically stop the killing, because one life, it's too many lives. And then when individuals say, oh, crime is down. Okay, crime is down. Okay, so instead of 10 shootings or 10 killings, you had 8 killings. But in this particular case, how can you say crime is down when 53 people shot over the weekend in Chicago and 7 have died? So this is what we call hypocritical. And this is why we got to be concerned about what's really going on, because when you look at situations like this, okay, this individual behind me, Robin Westman. Okay, Robin Westman was the individual over, the mass shooting at the Catholic school in the church area. The feds don't want me talking about it. Okay, but I'm going to talk about it. Okay, this individual right here, we're not talking about what happened in Minnesota. Okay, and remember, Walz, the governor, he ran for vice president. He was all about the trans and all of this and all of that. This individual right here, name used to be Robert Westman. Okay, this was the shooter in the Minnesota mass shooting at the Catholic school. Okay, this individual, he's a born white male, okay, who clearly is a Democrat, okay, because he's a transgender and changed his name from Robert to Robin, okay, and with the firearms that he had, killed Donald Trump. He had something about blacks, he hate Jews. So I'm sitting back saying, like, wait a minute. You got a white born male who's a transgender who went and shot up a school that she attended. And I thought about that until I saw the press conference. It's crazy how, some news, things like, Chicago over the weekend could actually just get this on the back pages. But we got to let you know about this. I saw the press conference, of one of the little girls who got killed at the mass shooting at the Catholic school in Minnesota in the chapel, and they were actually praying. The school was locked, and Robin, whatever you want to call it, went in there. He couldn't get in, so he started shooting through the window. One of the young little girls that he killed, I saw a press conference. One of the little girls that he killed had 2 dads. Okay. They were talking. One was rubbing his back, and you could tell that there was a, same parent household. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, and this individual is a transgender, a white male. Okay. And I'm sitting back and he says he hates blacks. Okay. He's going to kill Donald Trump. And he had these notes on this magazine. And I'm sitting back like, wow. So why would he commit such a heinous act? Okay. Because it's top down. When you have the governor, when you have individuals speaking and spewing hate about the president, you get into the minds of these individuals. Okay. And this particular individual right here shot a girl and killed her. And I think, it was 17 people was affected in that particular situation. And I could be corrected. Correct me in the chat, because they put it on the back burner because of what's going on in Chicago. But this individual went to that Catholic school. This individual was a boy, and his name was Robert in the school when they found his picture in the school yearbook. Now this individual is a trans woman that went to the school, and he went to the same school that he went to and did a mass shooting in Minnesota. Okay. And shot a little girl who has two dads. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm sitting back saying, wow, so you could still be racist because he said he hates blacks. You could still be, on the opposition or Democrat, because he had one of the magazine killed Trump, but then he went into the school and killed a little girl who had two fathers. So I'm saying is, this is what we're dealing with. Look at how these liberal policies affect the minds of individuals. Look at how we have to deal with these certain things. We got enough dealing with just racism in general. But then when you got trans shooters, you got trans people that's committing these homicides. If you did not know, from 2018 to now, there's been 8 transgenders, who basically are accountable for the mass shootings. Think about it. So what are we doing? So this is, like I said, I got the chickens have come home to roost in my head because I've been, deep diving in Malcolm X. But why can't we get on the same sheet of music? Because we continue to push narratives, we continue to push agendas, and we continue to, move ourselves so far away from God that we will continue to allow these things to happen. And it's not right because nobody's talking about this. This guy right here, Robin Westman, who was the mass shooter of the school in Minnesota who shot the kids up while they were praying in the chapel, is a transgender and changed his name to Robin. Okay. But he's still a racist because he's white. So what I'm saying is let's make it make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And then you have the governor of the state of Illinois, opposing federal troops into the city of Chicago. And he's having a press conference on the Monday. And over the weekend, 53 individuals were shot. 7 people have died. And they are basically opposing sending in federal troops to stop the crimes. This is the craziest thing ever. So what I'm saying is, clearly, Robert or Robin Westman, and it's crazy his name is Westman is a Democrat. Clearly. Okay. And clearly they're listening to the individuals in high places, the Gavin Newsoms of the world, Mayor Fitzer, Brandon Jones and Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker's, and it comes top down. So these talking points, and when you spew hate from the top, this is what happens. This is what happens. And this is why the attempted assassination with Trump, because people in high places, they say these things and they motivate and they agitate. So the Democratic Party, our Black Caucus members and individuals that's been elected, you guys have blood on your hands because you are motivating and encouraging these things to happen. Just like, when the president wants to send in the, national troops or the National Guard to stop the crime. Just imagine being, not about your ego and just going out and saying, listen, the president, has the right to do what the president has the right to do. We fully support the president and we're going to stand behind the president because we want crime to stop in our cities as well. Crime will be down. But when you have an opposing side, when you are the opposition, when you basically are the ones that's, spewing hate from the top, it trickles down to individuals like Robert, who turned into Robin, who went to the same school and looked through the window and started shooting individuals while they were praying and happened to shoot a little girl who has 2 dads. And the Catholic Church has, one of the largest class action lawsuits when it comes to touching little boys. So was Robin or Robert violated? Was there some get back? We don't know because he committed suicide or she committed suicide. You see how confusing it is, with these pronouns and all of this stuff that's going on? Because we as individuals, man, we got to figure this thing out. So you guys been in the comments, man. And right now I just looked up and Andrew Sinclair just said, what I found strange is that the kids doing news interviews, wouldn't the news have blurred the kids' names out? See, because they're basically exploiting the children. Okay, let me see here. C. Cruz said, I think he had a grudge against the school that taught him to be gay. Hey, that is a great point. That's something that I thought about, because he's a racist for sure, because on one of the magazines, he said he hate black people. And on another magazine, he said kill Donald Trump. But he went to the school and pretty much did what he did. So we got to really understand what's going on. Okay. And just to close out on this, man, the feds to DC, crime is down. And if you did not know, okay, since hundreds of you have jumped on, and I appreciate you guys. Okay, I appreciate you. Hit that like, hit that notification. So Trump is talking about sending the feds to Chicago. And remember, DC was out of control. He sent the feds in, and these are the statistics and the numbers. Violent crime in DC is down since the deployment of the federal troops. Violent crime is down 50%. Homicides is down 32%. Robbery is down in just 1 week, 46%. Carjackings are down 82%. Almost to 100%, 83% actually. That's a beat. Burglaries are down 48%. Car thefts are down 36%. Property crime is down 14%. Arrests, they basically don't have all the numbers, but they're averaging and saying that between 550 to 1,100 arrests have been made. You have 115 seized firearms over the last week and a half, and it is what it is. And the bottom line is, multiple crime categories, especially violent crime, carjacking, robberies, burglaries, and car thefts, have seen notable reductions since the National Guard deployment since mid-August. So it's working. So President Trump, please send the troops to Chicago, send them to Memphis next, and send them to LA, because crime has to stop. It is what it is. So, man, listen, I love you. Hit that like, hit that notification. We going up. And as you can see, I was having technical difficulties because, of the new equipment that I have. And this was basically the federal government logging on because, they want to control what we say. They want to make sure that, but they not going to go and stop the crime, though. We're harmless over here. We just talking and having a great conversation. Somebody put Trump train 2028. Hey, listen, it's a possibility as long as they keep on doing what it's doing. And like I said, this microphone, cost me a pretty penny. Okay. If you saw my arrangement, it is what it is. It just, it's Bluetooth. It's all of that stuff. So that's, what it is. So I think I need to go back to the individual just plugging stuff, plugging the mic in, but it is what it is. So with that being said, man, you guys have an amazing day. Let me see here. You guys are going crazy in that comments, man. You guys are going crazy in the comments. And let me see here. Yeah, you guys are going crazy, man. It is what it is. And it has nothing to do with flesh and blood. I'm going to say that. It's nothing to do with flesh and blood. For me, it's powers, principalities, evildoers in high places. It's not flesh and blood. Donald Trump just happened to be the president of the United States today. Okay. It don't have nothing to do with him. And just like what you just put in the comments, this is the mindset that you're programmed with, Governor Fitzer, Brandon Johnson. You guys want to make it seem like if the president does something about it, then he's going to get the credit for it. But you guys really don't care about humanity because you want 53 people to get shot and 7 killed. And you don't want the president to do nothing about it because if he stops the crime, then he's going to get the credit. It is what it is. It's good versus evil, God versus devil, positivity versus negativity. And I'm going to close with this. The Black America and people really understand there's no difference. There's no such a thing than lesser of the two evils. OK, no such a thing, because when you buy into that ideology, the lesser of the two evils mean, do I pick Lucifer or do I pick Satan? It is what it is. And if Trump gets the credit for it, that's because you mayors, you governors are failures and you do not care about the people. Because if you cared about the people, the press conference would be about the 53 people shot and the 7 people killed in Chicago, other than Trump sending the National Guard to the city of Chicago. So with that being said, man, y'all have an amazing day. This your man, Bushion Glover, signing out. A Better Black America TV on YouTube. Happy Labor Day. Peace out.